Hey guys, what's going on? This is Krov Malenkov, and I'm here to bring you yet again another 10 historical and mythological references in For Honor. As I've said the past 3 times now already, For Honor is a game based on historical warriors, and there are many references within the game's content that throw out some historical names and mythological stories. So here is another list of 10 historical and mythological references, part 4. Starting off for our first pick, we have the Knight Faction's Medusa's Favor Mask outfit. This outfit can be purchased for any hero in the Knight Faction for 20,000 steel. The hideous and revolting creature of Greek myth, whose gaze can turn anyone into stone, Medusa is a monster of unbelievable malice and rage. Many of you should know this monster, but do you know of her true origins? Like, for example, at one time, did you know she was actually a beautiful woman who even made the gods jealous and envious? It's said that Medusa made Poseidon, god of the seas and oceans, so lustful for her that he caught her in a temple dedicated to Athena and assaulted her. If you think that's bad enough, it only got worse when Athena found out about this incident in her temple. Athena accused Medusa for purposely seducing Poseidon and other men to her, although she never truly meant to do so and decided to punish her for it. Medusa was to be turned into a gorgon. Her hair turned into snakes and her face was contorted so horribly that whomever were to look upon her, they would turn to solid stone. Medusa's sisters, Citheno and Uriel, were saddened by this, and for their pity, Athena turned them into gorgons as well. They fled to an abandoned isle and remained there for many years, getting unwanted challengers sent by the gods to slay the Gorgon sisters. All perished at their gaze except for Perseus, who came and cut Medusa's head off as she and her sisters slept. If you ask me, Athena really should have pointed the blame to Poseidon, not Medusa, because that's just messed up. Going over to Warden for our second pick, we have the Gilgamesh weapon variant. This weapon variant can be obtained at Rep 3 and higher. The name alone should invoke a legendary and epic feeling. This sword is based off the legendary demigod named Gilgamesh. Written in the epic of Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh was the king of Uruk and ruled over his land with an iron fist. Seeing his cruel behavior to his people, Anu, Mesopotamian god of the sky and all, creates a wild man with the strength to rival Gilgamesh named Enkidu. After just a few days, Enkidu confronts Gilgamesh and they fight each other. After much fighting, Gilgamesh beats Enkidu and they end up befriending one another. And they go off on many amazing and crazy adventures, like killing a bull sent by heaven and fighting his way through the underworld to seek eternal life. Moving on to Centurion for our third spot, we have his Jacta Est execution. This execution can be purchased for 7,000 steel. Similar to Raider's Aegir's Tide execution from part 2, this execution's reference solely lies in name alone. Jacta Est is Latin for let the die be cast. The spelling is a little different, as it should be Jacta Est. However, this spelling of it is considered okay in just a different form. The phrase originated on January 10th of the year 49 BC by a man named Julius Caesar. The phrase has come to be well remembered in history as a phrase to refer to an action that cannot be undone. You see, during the years prior to 49 BC, Julius Caesar was made a governor of the areas in what is now northern Italy, Croatia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, and tasked to keep the areas in relative peace against the Gallic threat. However, his control would later come to the area of France, and he would end up conquering all of Gaul and even invade southern Britain. This made him look like a hero to his people, but to his government, he was viewed as an usurper, especially to Pompey, who had claimed the consulship for himself. So the Senate demanded Julius to disband his army and resign his titles. Outraged by this, Julius marched his legions to Rome. The point of no return was when he had to make the choice to cross the Rubicon River, which the act of crossing with a full army was an act of total war. When he decided to do so, he remarked by saying the famous line, and began a civil war that would end the Roman Republic and begin the Roman Empire. Going now to our fourth spot is Gladiator's Glycon weapon variant. This is an epic weapon variant and can only be acquired at Rep 5 and higher. This weapon variant is based off of the ancient cult about a snake god by the name of Glycon. According to a man by the name of Lucian of Samosata, who had studied the cult of Glycon supposedly started in the coastal village of Abo no Tekos in what is now Inebolu, Turkey, by a man named Alexander in 150 CE, who supposedly claimed the incarnation of the god Asclepius, a god of medicine and health, and where we get our modern symbol for medicine. Alexander showed a gathered crowd a goose egg, and when he opened it up, the snake god revealed itself. It said it grew to the size of a man and took on human attributes like a hair that resembled a long flowing blonde wig and a face. They worshipped the snake, calling it Glycon. Lucian would come to prove the cult as a fraud by pointing out that the man snake was merely a puppet, that it was all made up by Alexander. Regardless, the cult had a growing following and had spread wide across the areas of Turkey and Greece, and its following stayed for a while, but it ultimately died out after the death of Alexander. Kinda creepy if you think about it. I mean, I'd rather run from a snake with hair than worship the thing. Ugh. Sticking with Glad for our 5th spot is the Janus weapon variant. Like the previous pick, this weapon variant can be attained at rep 5 and higher. Unlike our last pick, however, this one has its roots firmly in Roman myth. Janus was the Roman god of time, beginnings, transitions, and doorways. A god for doorways? That's pretty stupid, you may say. Well, the doorway signified something in Roman culture. Janus was essentially a god of peace, as through him could any conflict come to a complete close. Like a doorway, he'd be there at its opening and at its closing. Janus, unlike the other deities, did not have a temple dedicated to him. Rather, he had a gateway and dedication to him. Its purpose was solely to be open when a conflict had begun, like war, and closed to symbolize peace. The depiction of Janus was that of a man with 2 heads pointed in 2 different directions, to symbolize his presence for the beginning and the end, which the buckler's design replicates that fairly well. A pretty cool reference, as if you take this into any fight, it'll signify your beginning and your end in it. Moving on over to the Viking faction for our 6th spot, we have Raiders Yggdrasil weapon variant. This is a legendary weapon variant and can only be acquired at rep 7 and higher. Yggdrasil is a reference to the legendary world tree in Norse mythology. Yggdrasil, probably meaning Odin's horse or Odin's gallows, is a large tree that sits in the center of the universe and holds the 9 realms of Norse mythology. From atop, Asgard, the realm of the gods, is held. Within the center, Midgard, our world, is said to reside. And from the branches and roots of the tree reside the other 7 worlds. Alfheim, the realm of the light elves. Vanaheim, realm of the Vanir. Jotunheim, realm of the giants. Muspelheim, realm of the fire giants. Nidavellir, realm of dwarves. Niflheim, realm of the frost giants. And finally, Helheim, realm of the dishonorable dead. Yggdrasil is said to have 3 large roots that connect to different areas from far away. One goes to the well called Ursarbrunnar, the second to Hivergalmir, and the last to Mimir's-Brunnar well, where Mimir was said to have taught Odin the secret of magic and knowledge. That's where Odin took out his eye for, knowledge and stuff. Speaking of Odin, for our number 7 spot, we have Warlord's Allfather weapon variant. This variant can be acquired after reaching rep 7 and up. The high god of the Aesir has many names. He is Odin to the Norse, Wodan in Old English, and Wotan in Old German. He was called Asagrimir, or Lord of the Aesir, Fjolnir, or the Wise One, and for our intents and purposes, Allfather, or Alfodir in Norse. Odin was considered the god of all men, and he is considered to be the god of wisdom and war. It's said that those who follow his ways and die in battle are said to be carried to his hall of dead, Valhalla. So it would mean you'd be honoring the great All-Father God if you brought this weapon variant into your next fight. Surely to bring you to Valhalla. That is, if you die. Going on now to Highlander for our number 8 pick, we have his Boudica weapon variant. This is labeled as a heroic variant and can be attained at rep 3. The sword is based off of the famous warrior queen of the Iceni tribe, Boudica. Boudica was a prominent figure during the Roman conquest of Britannia. She ruled over her people, the Celtic tribe called the Iceni, after her husband, a man named Prasutagus, died. Upon his death, he had his kingdom split between his wife and the Roman Empire. However, the Romans did not adhere to a woman's rule, so they took all of the land and mercifully beat Boudica when she argued about it. In revenge, she led an all-out assault on the Roman-held forts and cities in southern England, even burning down London to the ground. She was ultimately stopped, however, at the Battle of Watling Street by a Roman legion led by a man named General Paulinus. You know, if you haven't yet, I actually covered this battle in one of my For Honor Historical Battles episodes. You should check it out. You know, when you're done with this video first. Moving now to the Samurai faction, for our number 9 spot, we have SHUGOKI's 1-inch punch execution. This execution can be bought for 7,000 steel. This execution is based off of the technique that originated in southern Chinese style martial arts that implemented a single punch that could be performed at an extremely close range and still put a lot of power behind it. The technique implements fa jin, or explosive power, when performed. The technique came into popularity when Bruce Lee showed it off at the Long Beach International Karate Championships back in 1964. He learned the technique when training in Wing Chun back in Hong Kong, and he then put it into his own martial art named Jeet Kune Do. SHUGOKI here demonstrates the idea of the technique with his kanabo, and if he's apparently strong enough to squish a fully armored knight's head in like a rotten tomato, imagine the force he can put with one concentrated blow like that. Ow. Ending our list, for our number 10 pick, we have Shinobi's Daruma weapon variant. This is a legendary weapon variant and can only be acquired at Rep 7 and up. The Daruma is a small, round, hollow little wooden doll that itself is based off of a monk named Bodhidharma. Bodhidharma is considered both a real person and a mythological one. It's said that he came from somewhere far west from China and came to bring peace and the teachings of the Buddha to China around the 5th and 6th century. From there, it spread to Japan, and there, he's called Daruma. The Daruma doll itself is considered a talisman more than a toy or a figurine, as it serves a purpose. When someone obtains a doll, the eyes are supposed to be completely white until the person who owns the doll makes a goal for themselves, like completing a task or finishing a journey. They are then to paint one of the eyes before the task is done, and when it is finished, to draw in the second eye. The reference in itself comes from the account of Bodhidharma cutting out his own eyelids to never sleep again during his dedicated 9-year meditation to complete. I mean, they can't all be good, nice, little clean references now, can they? And there you have it, guys. Yet another 10 historical and mythological references in the bag. What did you guys think of these? Did you know any of these, some of these, or not a single one of these? Comment below to tell me what you guys thought of these. Don't forget to like the video if you do. Stay tuned on the channel for any future content. Thanks for watching, and as always, play on.